Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, what's my brethren all around the world watch this video? Hope you're having a great time watching, as I'm having a great time making the videos. Now, hit the subscribe button, and you will not be disappointed. Okay, interesting stuff. Okay, because Manny Pacquiao making his rounds around the world, around these different cities. They did a press tour with Adrian Broner for the upcoming fight on January 19th. There will be more coverage of that here on True School Sports as we get closer to the fight, so stay tuned for that. But on Fight Hype, there was a clip in a media scrum with Manny Pacquiao, and one of the media members asked Manny Pacquiao, how would you fight Errol Spence? Now, I'm going to play the clip, and then we're going to dissect from there. And if you want to go see it, link will be in the description. It's on FightHype.com. So big shout out to Fight Hype. They're doing good work as always. And big shout out to my man Shawn Porter, who's killing it on Fight Hype, the #1 boxing reporter in the game as far as I'm concerned. As of all the massive channels, Shawn Porter doing big things. But here we go. Here's what Manny Pacquiao had to say about how he would fight Errol Spence and what the key is.
Thank you. Maybe fight between you. Your approach with Errol Spence fight would be to use speed. That would be your approach because you're similar stats to that Mikey Garcia.
Speed.
Right.
That's the most important thing. How you fight a bigger opponent? Speed is the key. Speed is the key. You gotta compete with power because he's bigger than you. See? Because he's bigger than you. You can level up his power. Because he's bigger than you, you're moving up to another bigger opponent. But the most important thing when you fight, that's my strategy, that's my experience. Make sure that you are faster than him. The speed is the key.
All right, so you heard, for those of you who don't understand Manny Pacquiao says, because I know sometimes it's hard to understand him, Manny Pacquiao said that speed is the key when you fight a guy like Errol Spence. That you can level up, you can make the power between both fighters even if you as a smaller fighter are making sure that you're the faster one, that you're making sure you're faster than your opponent in the ring. That's what Manny said. Now, if there was a guy in boxing history that can talk about beating a bigger fighter, it's this man right here, Manny freaking Pacquiao. Man, won 8 weight classes. He's used to fighting guys that are bigger than him and whooping their ass. Okay, so essentially, what was done here in this clip on Fight Hype is Manny Pacquiao has given the blueprint. He has given the blueprint. For those who don't know, he's given the blueprint on how to beat one of the best fighters in the world, Errol the Truth Spence Jr. And that's going to be a tall task for anybody. Good luck to Mikey Garcia because he's going to have his hands full come March the 16th. But Manny Pacquiao, what do I make of it, man? It's interesting because I talked to a lot of people about how you beat Errol Spence. For many of you who may or may not know, one of my good friends in boxing, someone I talk to here and there. I've talked to a lot about boxing and boxing history, boxing today. Is former Mike Tyson trainer Stacey McKinley. I've done a lot of interviews with Stacey McKinley this year. I did a whole 1 hour special with him this year. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out on the channel. That's something you might want to watch. But a lot of times I've talked to Stacey, and one time I remember one time clearly. We were in the gym one day, and we were talking about just boxing fighters of today. We were talking about I was talking to him about Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman and just that matchup. And I asked him who he thought he would win, and Stacey told me that he thinks that Keith Thurman would win. He beat Errol Spence, and he gave me the reasons as to why. He pointed out some deficiencies Errol Spence had that maybe I had not looked at. He told me that, and I'm gonna try to do my best to not butcher what he told me. But when I talked to Stacey McKinley about Errol Spence, these were his words. He told me Errol Spence is a great body puncher. He's the fantastic body puncher. But if you're someone who has, who has boxing, who has really good outside boxing skills or mid-range boxing skills, and you can throw a lot of punches, Errol Spence is a deer in the headlights. What he was trying to say was he's a deer in the headlights in the sense that Errol Spence has moments in the fight where there's lulls, where you could find spaces of time to get off your shots. And he basically told me that if Keith Thurman fought Errol Spence, Keith has a boxing IQ, the boxing intelligence to see those lulls, to see those that deer in the headlight expression that Errol Spence has, and when he's not throwing punches, and he'll be able to exploit that, and he'll be able to just outsmart Errol Spence, right? So this is a great boxing mind of Steve McKinley. He's been around the game for a long time, longer than I've been alive. So when he speaks, I listen. Even if I don't agree with what he says, I listen at least. And Manny Pacquiao is a guy that's won all these titles. And then even if we look at Errol's fight against Kell Brook, I literally before I made this video, I just went back and watched some clips of that fight. We learned a couple things about Errol Spence in that fight. We learned number one, we learned things and things were reinforced. One thing that was reinforced was that Errol Spence's body work is the real deal. He will break your ass down if you let him get to that body and chop it down round by round, and that's what it was done in the Brook fight. Brook early on in that fight, he was showing like a lot of things Manny says about speed and how that's the key, and how Stacey McKinley would say that Errol has that deer in the headlight look. So there's always the lulls in the fight where you can get off your shots against him, and it's about picking the right chances and not fighting him. Not fighting him for too long, but picking those right shots, getting out, and just being switched on for the whole 12 rounds. If you can do that, you can outpoint Errol Spence and maybe even get a stoppage if you land the right shot. In this fight, when Errol fought Kell Brook, right? When Errol Spence fought Kell Brook, and those, not even into the first round, even after the first time Kell Brook went on the canvas or whatnot, when he got up, there were times after, I think it was round 10, the stoppage before round 11, Brook was able to get out. He was still at times, even when he was hurt with the eye, able to get off first. And that's the key with Errol Spence. You have to get off first. You have to beat him to the punch. And that's a very hard thing to do for a couple of reasons, because Errol Spence, fundamentally sound, he's probably the best fighter in all of boxing at simply just keeping his hands up. That man don't drop his hands for nothing. And I'm very impressed with that. Secondly, with Errol Spence, what we learned in that fight more than anything, and what I believe was the clear difference in that fight, aside from the body work, because the body work is obvious, but the clear difference in that fight, the reason Brook's eye was hurting is the jab. The jab. His jab, particularly in the later rounds, was piercing through that Brook's guard. It was landing on that eye, and he just kept putting it in Brook's face over and over and over again. And Brook couldn't muster up the energy. He couldn't muster up the strength. And he was too afraid to try to get off first. And then from there on, it was all she wrote. Errol got the stoppage victory. But Manny Pacquiao, a man who has beaten, really big fighters. This is a man, many of you may forget this, okay? Manny Pacquiao is the same, he was the same guy that he was supposed to fight Paul Williams, the very ducked and avoided Paul Williams, who was just beating the living crap out of everybody at 154 or whatever it was. Paul Williams, Manny had actually signed to fight Paul Williams. I forgot the year, but he signed to fight Paul Williams. All Paul Williams had to do was beat I think it was, I can't remember if it was Martinez or who it was, but Paul Williams was supposed to be someone, and Manny signed up. Manny was going to fight him. It was Quintana. That's who it was, Quintana. Manny signed to fight Paul Williams, but I think Paul Williams had lost him Quintana or Martinez or one of them two. And the fight just didn't happen, but he was willing to fight him. So this is a guy that is well studied up. Manny Pacquiao is well studied up on fighting bigger fighters, beating bigger fighters. I mean, for Christ's sakes, when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, people nowadays with their revisionist history look back on it and say, well, De La Hoya was this, he was that. He was all these things. But so many people forget that when Manny fought Oscar, his people in his own country were scared for his life, that he was going to get massacred by Oscar De La Hoya. A lot of people picked against Manny to lose the Oscar De La Hoya fight. So this is a man that's very well trained, very well versed in going up to and beating up bigger fighters. Same good thing goes for the Miguel Cotto fight. When he fought Cotto, Paulie Malignaggi was saying that Manny Pacquiao, Cotto was too big. A lot of people thought Cotto was too big for Pacquiao. A lot of people thought that there was no chance for Manny to beat a guy like Cotto with his level of skill. Pacquiao went to beat the shit out of Cotto so bad, he had Cotto's wife leave the arena. Okay, this is a man that knows what he's talking about. And if you're a fighter out there in the world who may fight Errol Spence Jr. and you're on YouTube and if you're seeing my video, because I know sometimes these boxers watch my videos, I don't know all the fighters watch my videos, but sometimes I get surprised when I go to these events and you're surprised with how many people actually watch your videos. You know, if you're a fighter out there and you get a hold of what I'm saying, go check out the clip in the description down below. And if you're trying to fight Errol Spence, you got to be really well studied up, because I think Manny's assessment is right. To beat Errol Spence Jr., you do need to have speed. You do need to not just have speed. You know, it's one thing to have speed, but it's speed being applied in the right manner. You got to have speed, and you have to get off first, and then you have to have the wherewithal and the know-how not to sit there and fight Errol Spence on the inside. You do that, your ass is grass. But if speed used and applied the right way for 12 rounds, you can definitely go in there and outbox Errol Spence for 12 rounds. I think Kell Brook, in his fight, did a really good job, but what he lacked in the later rounds was speed, because Errol Spence was breaking that damn body down. He was chopping it up, and to be quite honest with you, for any of you out there who may not know this, I love Kell Brook. I think Kell Brook is probably one of my favorite fighters to watch, and I think it's a shame what's happened to his career. You know, the man went up and he took some really, really massive risks in fighting Triple G and then fighting Errol Spence Jr. And he did neither one of them the way he wanted to, and it's probably ruined his career forever. But he still has my respect. And you know, no fighter. I mean, look at Shawn Porter's career, right? Shawn Porter has fought the likes of Keith Thurman. I thought he beat Keith Thurman. You know, he fought Danny Garcia. He beat Danny Garcia. And then he lost to Kell Brook. So he lost to Keith Thurman, but a lot of people thought he won that fight, and he lost to Kell Brook. But I think there's not, out of all the top fighters Shawn Porter's fought, no fighter has beat him easier than Kell Brook. And that is not to be discredited. That is not to be taken lightly. Kell Brook is a hell of a fighter. Errol showed a lot on that night. And I like what Manny was saying here. Manny has given the fighters the blueprint to beat Errol Spence Jr. So you can either listen to Manny or you can ignore him. But this is a man that's been there and done it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. How do you beat Errol Spence Jr.? And is Manny Pacquiao's assessment on how you beat him spot on? And you know, would you want to ever see Manny Pacquiao fight Errol Spence? Truthfully, I wouldn't. I don't think that's a fight that would go well for Manny, to be honest with you, at this point in his career. I think Errol's a really bad matchup for him. But if he ever wants to take it, I'm not going to get mad at him for doing it. You know, Manny's a fighter, and he's shown himself to fight the best over the years. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single video, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take your eyes.